Yo, hey everyone, welcome back to, I almost said the wrong podcast name. Welcome to East Got Game, where we give you the X's, the O's, and the insights of NBL 1 East. Thanks again for joining us tonight live on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And remember, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at East Got Game, or you can continue to find our episodes on your preferred streaming platforms. While you're there, make sure you check out Cut to the Jace, a podcast featuring the Bankstown Bruin himself, Jason Kadee, and, excusez-moi, It's the Cole World, a podcast by WNBL champion Beck Cole. Both of these podcasts brought to you by basketball.com.au. Lockie, how are we going tonight?
Doing great, Squin. How are you doing?
Excellent. I am good, thank you. I've had a very long weekend here in southeast Queensland because our Labor Day long weekend is now, whereas your Labor Day long weekend is in October. So just to make things more confusing for everyone.
And how did you spend your long weekend?
Doing too many things, adult admin things, and typically me, I have too many fingers in too many pies. So I was trying to do a lot of those side projects and side hustles on the long weekend and probably didn't have enough rest time, but that's okay. Next weekend will be rest time.
Fair enough.
And how did you spend your regular weekend?
I spent I started my regular weekend going to see Maximo Park at Liberty Hall. But I spent my actual weekend commentating Sutherland versus Newcastle, which was Sophie Brennan's 50th game and Lachlan Hutchison's 100th game. And Kate Kingham racked up her 1,000th NBL 1 East point. And Newcastle walked away with wins in both games. But God, I hope I said it on the call. Sutherland and Newcastle play each other again with Lauren Nicholson and Mia Heidi in the mix. Oh, that is going to be something special.
Yeah, both of those matchups would have been a great night out at the Shark Tank. And a massive congratulations to Sophie Brennan and Lockie Hutchinson. And, of course, Kate Kingham, 1,000 points. I'm really glad that the Newey Falcons are keeping stats on things like that.
Yeah, 100%. Me too. It's great.
I feel like Lockie Hutchison's played more than 100 games, though.
He's played 100 NBL 1 games. He has played Waratah before that. So just NBL 1, yeah.
So how many games do you think he's played for Sutherland at the semi-pro level? You know, when it was ABA, Championship, NBL 1. He's got to be getting close to 200.
No, I'm not sure. He's got 93 NBL 1 games for Sutherland and 7 for Albury Wodonga in South. And then according to AustraliaBasket.com, he's got another 56 for Sutherland. So he'd be on 149 games overall, if that's correct.
Okay, so maybe it just feels like he's been playing for a long time. Or I think I just grossly overestimate how many games there are in a season.
Yeah, so according to this, he made his debut in 2018, but it could have been before that. He would have been 19. He would have been good enough to play before that. Who knows? At least that many.
And how good for Kate Kingham? We've watched Kate Kingham perform at a high level for a very long time, pretty much since she was under 16s for the Newcastle Hunters back then, and now Falcons. So yeah, big ups for Kate getting 1,000 points, and even sweeter that she was named the Foot Locker Player of the Week for the NBL 1 East.
Yeah, massive. Yeah, I've known Kate since the Simpsons meme era under 20s days. Great times. And just watching her, she's such a lovely human as well. Someone you want to do well, someone you can really easily cheer for.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. Speaking of your Simpsons memes, by the way, is there any chance that we could maybe bring that back in a bit more of an NBL 1 East flavor? Because I'm not sure if you saw today, I took some inspiration from your Simpsons deep cuts and shared a picture of Ryan Beastie with a Simpsons.
Yes, I did see that. Yes. Yes, that was very good. I got a good laugh out of that. I actually did have an idea for one. It might be crossing the line. I do have an idea for it. I might share it with you later.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's keep it as a WIP for the time being.
Yeah.
All right, but let's get into our discussion points for this week. We have just gone. We've just finished round 5 of NBL 1 East for 2026. I've got some discussion points up here on our run sheet, Lockie. Is there any that you'd like to add before we get started?
No, I just added one down the bottom, so we can get to that later. But no, I think we're set. I think we're very well set.
I think we are too. And now, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to some of the top 5 teams in both the men's and women's competition at the moment in the East, because there's some really impressive win-loss records so far to start the season. So with the men's competition, we've got the Canberra Gunners still on top with a win-loss record of 6-0. Then you've got North Bears not too far behind them, in second position with a win-loss record of 7-1. Then Manly, the men up there, they are just rolling at the moment, which we love to see. How good were some of those images as well popping up from the weekend? The bench is loving it. It seems like they're having a great time. They're 6-1 in third position. Illawarra in fourth position with 6-1, purely based on the point percentage. And COE almost slept on them. Fifth position with 5-1. Is this how you saw the season starting in the men's competition, Lockie?
No, I mean, yes and no. I mean, Manly. I think the only surprising thing is that their 2 imports were unknown entities.
Mm-hmm.
We knew how good they had been in college or professionally or wherever beforehand, but it was just how good would they be in NBL 1, and they have properly shown up. But it's very rare that you would see at this early stage the top 5 has a 2-game lead on the rest of the table, especially when like Canberra have already played Illawarra and handed Illawarra their only loss, and Canberra sit there undefeated. So yeah, I mean, I probably expected Bankstown to probably be closer at this stage, maybe 5-2, filling that gap rather than being 2 games back. But if you want to make finals, you better get in quickly because spots are running out.
I totally agree. Time is of the essence. Even though we have 16 teams in the men's and women's competition, and the season seems long, but every game counts. Hate to sound like a cliche, because like you said, Bankstown are in 6th position, 4-3. We probably would have expected them to have a couple more wins under their belt. But the Stangers is probably the biggest surprise. They're in 10th position at 3-4, and I think everyone was expecting them to be, pretty close to a perfect record at the start of the season.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, they're still waiting on Mason Bragg to return, but he's got to get back is the kind of thing. It's like how we were talking about Hills women. It's like, well, it's going to be great when Piper Anderson's back, but she's got to get back first kind of thing. And, if he gets back sooner rather than later, I don't doubt they'll be fine. And they look pretty solid on the weekend with old Rain Smith absolutely popping off. So maybe they're starting to turn the corner a bit, but it's a bit of a logjam there now between 6th and 10th. We'll get to one of those teams in there shortly, but yeah, those things. And I mean, Sutherland are 1-4, and lost to Newcastle on the weekend. Jason Spurgeon was away; he was back at college in the States doing his graduation ceremony against a Newcastle team where you think they lost Miles Cherry. Having Spurgeon, it's like the biggest advantage Sutherland could possibly have had, playing a Cherry-less Newcastle. And they didn't have him and got done by almost 20 in the end. So a couple of teams down the bottom that are, could also still make a run. Maitland especially and Sutherland, they've got to turn things around quickly. They've had a pretty disjointed start. First no coach, then no players, then this and the other. And maybe they'll eventually get everyone back together. I hope so. Hope it's this weekend against Canberra because they're going to need everybody.
And yeah, just going back to that point about Maitland as well, turning a corner, given that they had a massive win against a team like Bankstown that have a high caliber roster themselves, I think that is going to be a big confidence boost for them. And I wonder if it's just a matter of time, like just for the final touches of chemistry to fall into place. Like I remember a few years ago, there was a Sydney Kings team who was absolutely stacked and they were just dropping a few games. Then they ended up going on like a 14-16-0 run and winning the championship. So I wonder if the Maitland Mustangs are writing a similar narrative for themselves this season. Like once everything clicks into place, it's all systems go and they're just going to go on this incredible run.
Sydney Uni Flames championship season, 4th at Christmas, won 12 or 13 on the trot, including finals to finish top and sweep both final series. So get everything together. As long as you're in the 8, if you're hitting your straps, then we've had 5th versus 7th finals. We've had grand finals. We've had all kinds of teams make it. So just got to be there.
That's right. Anything is possible. And let's have a quick look at the women's ladder, the top 5 teams as well. North Bears on top, win-loss record of 8-0, followed by Manly Warringah Seagulls 7-0. I mean, you do the math. It's obviously why Norths are on top. But both undefeated. Newcastle Falcons in 3rd, 6-1. Centre of Excellence in 4th, 5-1. Bankstown cracking the top 5 with 5-2. We love to see it. And yeah, that's the top 5. And we've got Hornsby creeping up behind them in 6th position at 4-2. Again, is this the top 5, top 6 that you expected after round 5 of this season?
More. I might have put my Sutherland hat on, but of course, no Lauren. We lost by 4 points with no Lauren Nichols. I know Newcastle had no Mia Heidi, but yeah, maybe, yeah. It's near enough to close enough. I think the top 8 is probably just about. I know I said COE would miss out on finals, but that was more just being nice to my friends. It is more or less the top 8 I expected. Yeah, I might have expected Sutherland. Maybe Sutherland could be 4-1 at this stage, but they've also only played 5 games. But especially like that top 4, I think especially is pretty dead on, and it's going to be a great weekend as well. North's playing Newcastle, Manly playing Bankstown. The whole talk about will North and Manly be undefeated come their game in week 14. Well, if there's one weekend that's either of them's going to trip up, it could be this one.
Yeah, quite possibly. So yeah, that's going to be a great test for all 4 of those teams in the next upcoming round 6. I think as well for me, the Bandits, I think I would have expected them a little bit higher, but they've just been really unlucky with some games. And they've got Maitland, I think, at home for the next round. And I would say, speaking of Mia Heidi, it looks like herself and Katie Jones, who has signed for the Canberra Nationals this season, are just wrapping up their season in Germany. So hopefully they'll be back pretty soon.
Yeah, I messaged Katie after their final series wrapped up, and I said, you better be back for this weekend against Sutherland because it's at Sutherland and I want to wear my jersey. And she was like, oh, we'll see. So that's all the information I've got.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that's okay. That's enough of a good tease, I suppose.
Yes.
Arriving just in time. Very good. All right. And then next on our discussion point for today, something that I think we forgot to cover in our last episode, which was a question we had gotten from some loyal listeners a few weeks ago, was about the restricted players in the Illawarra Hawks men's team. So especially when Mohamed Kony had announced that he was joining the team, a lot of people were asking, hey, isn't that 4 restricted players now for Illawarra Hawks? So I thought we better clear that up. We do have a reliable source that has informed us as to how this was possible. But are you able to recall, Lockie, or do you want me to read it out?
Yeah, I'm fairly able to recall because so the rule, I think, and actually, I think the old bylaws might still be on the Basketball New South Wales website from when the rule for NBL restricted players was 25% of minutes. So I think that's maybe where some people found the info. Like, this is the latest info, it's 25%. But the bylaws now, we've been told, are restricted players, NBL, WNBL, have to play 50% of available minutes. So you can get someone who's played up to 20 minutes a night in the NBL before they count as restricted. And Peatling and Blanchfield both played somewhere around 18 minutes a game in this last season for the Illawarra Hawks, plus your two imports, Mims and Cone. So they don't have 4 restricted players. They have 2 restricted players, and Peatling and Blanchfield are just your regular old standard Australian player. And that's about it. So, yes, under the old rules, which you can still get on the BNSW website, Peatling and Blanchfield have been restricted, but not anymore.
Bang on. And we've also been told that the women is slightly different. So it's around 25 minutes a game, maybe, for the WNBL to be counted as a restricted player. So, yeah, that clears that. That makes so much more sense now when we learnt of that update. So hopefully that clears it up for a lot of people. But hopefully that also means that clubs in the future can get a little bit more creative with their signings, retain some NBL players, especially those that are playing 20 minutes and under, just to get some more reps up in the NBL 1. And it's going to strengthen the competition as a whole. And something that the NBL 1 South in the women's competition are doing particularly well is signing a lot of Asian national players.
Yeah.
So the Melbourne Tigers women's team have 2 Chinese national players, and they are absolute ballers. Like, we've seen them play at FIBA events. They've also got an Indian national player playing for the Ringwood Hawks in Hani Kar, breaking a lot of glass ceilings, which is perhaps another story for another day. But for me, begs the question, can us in the East, with our beautiful East Coast beaches and metropolitan lifestyle, start to attract some more Asian national players to the East, given that Asian national players don't have as many restrictions? They're counted as locals.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a couple of teams do it. Inner West have done it. Hornsby, Ku-ring-gai in the past. They've signed players from China, from Taiwan and Japan, but not like on the same level as what they've done in the South. Like, I know, like, Mizuki Wakamatsu has gone off for 30 in this league. So, and like Comets had Arisa Takamoto, Ai Matsumoto's played, Shohei Yamazaki, Shea O. Like, there's been a few around, but none that are going anywhere close to the level that And Comets have a Japanese backup point guard this year as well in the men's. So definitely got some, but not to the same level. And I mean, if you've got that extra, you can basically use it as a third import spot. So if you can't find someone who's an NBL player or an Aussie that's better, a local that's better, you may as well bolster your roster if you can find someone.
Definitely. And of course, remember in the inaugural NBL 1A season, the Albury-Wodonga Bandits women's team had Yamada.
Of course. All-Star 5, season 1. Yeah. So that's the thing. They went out and got a really good Asian import. So, that worked perfectly for them.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think there's room for us to try and get a bit creative with pinching some nationals, Asian national players. Even they had Jack from the Gilas Filipinas play for Ringwood last year as well. He plays for the Filipino national team. So there's lots of room there, but I just thought it was really interesting how South are taking that angle and East can take the same opportunity.
And I think New Zealand, like any New Zealand player who isn't already a local, counts as the same for that as well. It's Asia Oceania. Mm-hmm. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Correct. Lots of talent out there. Just, got to get onto it first, I guess. Yeah. But you've added a point to the discussion table today. What did you want to talk about, Lockie?
I'm not the first person to talk about it this week because I'm pretty sure SJ was giving it large about this. And frankly, I talked about it a little bit with the Hills Albury-Wodonga game where the cameraman just had What we're discussing first is streams cutting out right at the end before the game's actually finished or not being filmed properly. So the Hills Albury Wodonga game last weekend or a couple of weeks ago, the last men's game we did, Robbie and myself, basket down one end, and it was right on it was like a second before the siren, and the cameraman didn't follow the ball for what was actually a potential 3/4 court buzzer beater, which if it had gone in would have sent the place. They just renovated Lauren Jackson Sports, so they would have needed to do it again if that had gone in. And the camera just didn't follow. And then in the game we're about to review, spoiler alert, which is Penrith and Comets in the men's game, the stream, so I'm not sure what happened live because we didn't watch it live, but trying to watch it on demand, they go to a timeout with 2 seconds to play, Penrith up 1, and that's where the stream ends.
We didn't have that opportunity. It was a 1-point ball game. Yeah. Coach Will Hill calls the timeout, like you said, and we don't see the last play.
No.
Like, come on, guys. That's like ending a movie without us seeing the ending. Like, having no resolution.
I don't know if that's the stream got killed then, or if whatever I don't know if they use some automated process to like clip up these streams, and that's just where like the game clock said it was zeros on the stream. So that's where the cutting got done and it got posted, or I can't imagine any actual human being would do something like that. So
yeah, that's what I thought as well, given that when you watch the game replays, they cut out all of the timeouts and all of the breaks. So I wonder if it was just something similar like that. It was a machine and not a man.
Yeah, I think so. Because like you see some of the clips like at halftime, it'll come back like 10 seconds later or something. I can't imagine any person would be clipping it like that. If they are, help. But yeah, like especially as commentators, like we get told, you know, I mean, we're not perfect. God, no, we're not perfect. But you know, we get told we're the voice of the league. You know, we're putting the product out there. We've got to be, you know, professional and keep on top of all these things. And it'd be nice for the visual to, you know, the visual to be the same. Yeah, especially like just at these real, like the little halftime, like getting clipped 10 seconds over or whatever. But when it's when it's the end of the game like that, it's just needs to be done better. And then our box score gave out. We still had the commentator deck, fortunately, but our box score gave out in the middle of the Sutherland game. I think during the women's game, we were trying to find how many offensive rebounds someone had, and we just couldn't do it because we only had that little commentator's deck where we only get like the 5 main stats, nothing major breakdown. So, just little things to work through. That's probably fairly low on the agenda of things that can be improved in the league. But yeah, getting the streams right and making sure we can actually see the end of the game. Because these can be big moments, you know, especially like that. If Comets hit a shot there at the end, that's a massive moment. Albury hit a shot a couple of weeks ago. That's a massive moment. It just gets missed.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. Well, the only other discussion point I'll bring up is that we are 4 Instagram followers away from 1,000. And now we don't do this for likes and whatever else. We are genuinely, you know, to take homage from Will Mayfield and Caleb Fogarty's very good journalism skills. Lockie and I are just 2 nerds repping our conference. So we don't do it for the likes and the clout and all that nonsense that can be seen with content creating and podcasts. We generally just like NBL 1 East to want to promote the players and the coaches and the talent in it. But it would be cool if we had 1,000 followers, purely because I think it helps with sometimes doing Instagram lives. I think you have to have a certain amount of followers, but also it would just look cool.
Yeah,
that's all it is. That's all it is. It would just look cool. Going into season 4 with 1,000 followers, given that we don't post on that account half the time of the year, I think 1,000 followers would just look really cool. So if you hear this and you feel so inclined, please share with your friends. If you're someone like me that has multiple accounts, please, if you can, follow Escott Game on all of your accounts. And let's get to 1,000. We're 4 away.
We're 4 away. We were 5 away when you wrote that, and Ethan Martin Coney just followed. So there we go.
I know. I was already going to give him a shout out in our game review, and I might
give him
some more praise now.
Yeah.
Very good indeed. Okay, so should we get stuck into this game then? We've already alluded to our game of the week.
It was a very tight game. It was very, yeah.
So yeah, this was the Penrith Panthers versus the Sydney Comets men, held on Sunday, May 3rd at Minto Sports Centre. RIP Campbelltown Ghosts. I think that was the Campbelltown.
That was them back in the day.
So this was, we purely chose this game of the week because it was a 1-point ball game, so indicating it was going to be close and exciting. But also, I think the consensus online, but maybe raised a few eyebrows now that Penrith have come so close to the Canberra Gunners and now they've beaten the Comets. So that's what kind of sparked my interest. What about you, Lockie?
I mean, it's always like Comets beat them by 39. Was it two weeks earlier? Yeah, 95-56, that game Will and I called, which was not the most fun. Actually, it wasn't Will and I, it was Gem and I. Sorry. That was Jem's commentary debut. How dare I? But yes, it was 95-56. 95-56 just 2 weeks ago. And Penrith, without Jonah Perez, were able to get the win, 68-67. We'll say that Penrith didn't have a game on the Saturday. Comets did. So this was a Stiga Barber, second game of a back-to-back. Had to get that in there. And Comets had won big the previous day, 92-69 over Hornsby. So, after falling in a hole in the second half against Norths the previous week, they'd come back and won big. So they should have been, feeling good about things and, rolling on. We're back in business. Let's get it, boys. But Penrith had other ideas.
Let's go the weekend 2-0 on the road.
Yeah.
What's the report on Jonah Perez as well? Why do we know why he wasn't there?
I have absolutely zero idea. I didn't actually notice until I trying to remember if anything happened like not a couple of weeks ago or not sure.
Maybe it was just like a personal event, like a wedding or something.
Yeah, I mean, Jason Spurgeon went to his graduation ceremony. Lauren Nicholson went to 3x3 World Series. So yeah. This is all these cool stepping stones that happen as well. So no Perez for Penrith, but it looks like the rest of the team certainly stepped up. As you mentioned, it was a typically low scoring ish game, 68-67. First quarter was only 11-12 in favor of Sydney Comets. What were your initial impressions of this game from the first quarter? Comets, sorry boys, but you looked like a team that was A, playing your second game of a back-to-back, and B, like you were playing a team you'd beaten by 40 the last time out.
Bit complacent?
But yeah, I'm watching the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man team play 5-out basketball.
Yeah, I kind of noticed as well, just like really soft hands. Like, I'm not sure. I get that, playing a doubleheader away, especially a Sunday game, you're usually like winding down on a Sunday. So maybe you're mentally conditioned to be a bit more relaxed, but just really loose and wacky waving arms, like you said, with the ball in that first quarter.
Yeah. Big, you're a team full of big guys, and I'm just watching 5-out ball. You'd run like, tired, bring it up. Over, you'd get it. Cross with Akil, he'd fling it out, and someone would decide, it's my turn to shoot a 3 now, so I'll shoot a 3. And there's no one in the paint. I'm just like, the first 5 minutes did not get good vibes from Comets at all.
I think, and to be fair, I think the first quarter, like when we reviewed the game last week, we kind of made mention that it was off to a really great start for the first half This was the Hornsby Maitland women's game we reviewed last week. And then things started to unravel a little bit in the third quarter for both teams. It was unraveling from the start for both of these teams. They both just seemed a little bit discombobulated with what was going on. Like people had soft hands and kept dropping the ball. Penrith's defensive intensity was quite good, and it was good enough to be quite disruptive really early to kind of play into how the soft hands that Sydney Comets were playing with. But then both ends of the floor, I think just some very rushed, haphazard decision-making offensively for both teams. Like it's almost like they needed to shoot their nerves out or something.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think you mentioned that defensive energy, and honestly, I think I have more notes about how things looked in like a qualitative sense than the actual like analysis, because so much of what good came from Penrith came from energy from guys like Jet Hickson and Simon Crepez, and later on when he got on court, Jesse Weinstein. And I think honestly it was that energy throughout that kept Penrith in the game for the most part. But yeah, energy will get you a long way on defense. It can lead to getting a bit haphazard on offense. Because I went back and looked at the stats, and Jet Hickson, 8 points. I'm like, but he was blown by guys all game, and he finished 3 of 13 from the field. So great on the defensive end. But yeah. I mean, Comets, two points in the paint for the entire first quarter. I don't see that. You'll see in the second quarter how things can change, but 2 points in the first quarter. But this was definitely a defensive quarter. The offenses weren't good, but the defenses were. Chola Dup, we know he's a great defender. He brought some energy off the bench, and I mean, shout out to the Comets bench in general, because they really got things started. It was, I mean, we just mentioned Ethan Martin-Coney. First thing he does, comes into the game, sets a screen, rolls to the basket. He got called for a charge when he bumped the defender right near the basket, but it was the first time someone at Comets actually looked like they were running a set or doing something that looked more than just flinging the ball around and finding a shot. And that was...
Yeah, I agree. That's what I really liked about his game. I agree. That's what I really liked about his game as well. He only played just over 10 and a half minutes, but he had 10 points, 5 boards, and an assist in 10 minutes 42. Let the kid cook. Let the kid cook. Like you said, he actually brought some stability onto the court when he came on, which is, not expected for a bench player, and B, a bench player that's 19?
Yeah.
And I think he was playing a little bit out of position because a lot of his shots were under the basket. I think I saw this kid play a few weeks ago at an AAU tournament up here in Brisbane, and he was playing a little bit more on the outside, but certainly could get downhill and use his size to finish really nicely on the inside. But you're right. He was the one person that had some stability, that was taking a moment to make good decisions and was being really assertive under the basket and taking great shots. Like he was kind of my MVP of the game, even though he only had the 10 minutes.
He was great. And I mean, the Comets bench, when they brought on free my man, Isaac Gundy. How does he only get 5 minutes? Sorry. I mean, he doesn't feel like he gets a lot of opportunity to do many things, but when he's given opportunities, he looks good. But yeah, I think they ran a full bench unit either late in the first or early in the second, and the ball was humming around. Players were moving off the ball. It was almost like the starters needed to be sat and shown, boys, do this.
It's certainly one of those games where I think I wonder as well sometimes, especially when you get to you're coaching a higher level, like you're coaching NBL ones where people do have contracts and get match payments, and there's more at stake in that sense. But even when you're coaching Division 1 reps and there's that other higher expectation of, hey, my kid's a little bit better, they should be getting more court time and more shots. But at the end of the day, you got to play the 5 players who are actually going to get the job done. And so if that's your bench players, like the Sydney Comets had 22 points from the bench. 22 of their 67 points were from the bench.
Yeah.
You just got to play who's getting the job done and who's cooking and let it go.
Yeah. I mean, Baby Chol was 2 of 4 from deep. I think he hit one in the first quarter or early in the season. Yeah, and like he was looking good off the bench. He's going to come in and just fire everyone up. So,
yeah.
You
got to. He's the guy that you sign like when you need a good hype around your team, good culture, good energy. He's the good energy and culture signing, Baby Chol, and he's always good for defense and a 3, like you said. But yeah, I just thought Martin Coney was really good in that sense. Oh wait, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong game. I just thought he was really, really good. I thought like from the outset though, the Comets started to get a lot better looks at the basket when they were going from a high to low option. So they'd get a high post catch, they'd get it in low. And when the 2 post players would be working off each other closer to the basket, they got some really good looks. But their best looks, I think, came from the fast break. Their transition game was really good very early once they were able to wrangle a good stop against Penrith.
Yeah, and it's something, I mean, we look at Comets and go, oh, they're all really tall. They are really tall. But like some of those guys can get out there and running. Like Obiche, Akil Douglas, guys like that, they're no slouch. You got Gotch Mulawal on that roster. There's guys out there that can run and get up court quickly. And if Ty Barber Bay is not just dribbling the ball up court at pace, he'll find them.
Definitely. Yeah, I thought I was hoping that that Barber Bay in particular at some parts of the game would just tuck the ball under his wing after a defensive spot and just go and make his team catch up with him if he didn't have a score himself, because he did it a couple times and it was just no one could catch him. It worked really well for them, and it kind of helped the Comets extend their lead when they were up by as much as 14 at one stage of the game. But look, what about Penrith in the first quarter? For me, I mentioned good defensive intensity, really going for the scrap, really being disruptive and pocket picking the Comets, which I think rattled them pretty early. But offensively, just really need to tighten up with some of their shot selections and their change in tempo in the half court in the first quarter.
Yeah, 100%. I did like Jack Tisich. I think he does a lot of just a lot of hard work out there. He sets a lot of good screens, rolls when he has to, does really good things. Didn't always work out for them, but and I think the hardest thing is for Penrith is that Benny Kieran's is so good. He can direct traffic and control the tempo and slow it down. And then you've got Jesse Weinstein, who gets the ball in his hand as the point guard and will just go and will just take someone on. And the problem is I feel like they both need to have the ball in their hands at the start of the possession to get the best out of both of them in this line. I don't think you could. I think Benny would be a bit wasted playing off the ball next to Jesse, where he isn't so much with Jonah. And I think Jesse not being the one bringing the ball up, it wouldn't matter who was next to him kind of thing, which is kind of unfortunate because they both had some really good stints in this game. And they did overlap a bit, but not a whole lot, which I think was the best thing for the team, to be entirely honest. Yeah, I mean, most of my notes were being annoyed at Comets, if I'm being entirely honest with you. But I mean, Tisich and Krepes had a couple of good plays where they drop it in to each other. Tisich had the final play of the quarter where Weinstein, I don't know how Jesse Weinstein created anything on that last play. It felt like he was dribbling the air out of the ball. And then somehow a wild pick and roll appeared where Tisich comes out and sets the screen, and Weinstein somehow manages to find him with the pass to him, get them back within one. But Penrith had enough good moments, and they only trailed by one to make me feel that even if Comets did get out of their funk, they weren't going to be able to run away with it. Penrith were actually looking decent enough, often enough, and with enough energy that even it got, as you said, it got out to 14 at one point, and even though it still didn't, it never felt like a 14-point game.
Yeah, I agree. It didn't. I was surprised when I was looking back at the stats that the Comets' biggest lead was 14. Yeah, because it didn't feel like that. It always felt like Penrith were in touch of the lead, or they were always going to be ready to make a run for it. But just in that first quarter, Penrith only made 3 field goals. Sydney only made 2 field goals. And I imagine the rest was on free throws, which is another thing that we'll get to later. Because you know how I love free throws. But yeah,
it doesn't look like most of these players do.
Nope. But yeah, not great shooting in the first half. Both Sydney and Penrith shot 20% from the 2-point range in this first quarter, I should say. Penrith 14.29% from the 3-point line, and Comets 28.57. It was just, I think it was one of those things where Penrith was playing this really kind of not scrappy, but very intense, very disruptive defense. And when a transfer into offense, then they were still playing with that level of intensity and hype and started rushing. And then I think the Comets just kind of got caught up in that style of play a little bit too much. The Comets were a little bit too passive in just allowing Penrith to control a lot of the tempo and momentum of this game. And if you're going to get caught up in the opposition style of play, you're not going to win. No. And I think Comets were just maybe expecting that they were just going to we'll click eventually, or we'll win eventually, or this will happen eventually. And there was just this sense of either fatigue or complacency. It's hard to tell which it was. And I think they would just kind of rest on their laurels a little bit too much. We're like, we'll be right. And they were not.
No. But yeah. I mean, in the second quarter, I mean, they pushed the score out, but it still didn't feel quite right. Because to be honest, in the start of the second quarter, I thought Penrith looked much better, especially at the offensive end. It didn't always fall for them, but they had a couple of really good possessions with Jesse Wernstein starting the second quarter. It had a couple of defenders wondering exactly what they should do, and he was able to find some teammates. I mean, he absolutely wrecked Keto Brown on one play, just drove straight by. He didn't really break his ankles. Keto just kind of slipped, trying to stay with him, and found Jet Hickson with this wraparound pass. But I mean, Jet couldn't hit the 3, but it was still, it was kind of, trying to think of the exact word I'm looking for. It was just good to see. Like, it was a good play to see. Like, it didn't work out, but it's something you like to see the offense doing, like humming like that. But I mean, then the Comets starters came back in and they actually kept moving the ball like they had. Well, it wasn't all the starters. It was 3 starters. It was just Ty Barber Bay, Akil Douglas, and Johnny Krinogorak came back in alongside Keto Brown and Ethan Martin-Coney. And the ball movement remained good. They didn't just revert back to this kind of lackadaisical play. So that was when they started to actually hit their stride a little bit, I thought.
Oh, for sure. And you can see that in the stats as well. Like this second quarter from the Comets, this is when they had their biggest lead of 14. They went on a 10-point run. They had 11 points from the bench, and 6 of those 11 points were just Ethan Martin-Coney himself. 14 points inside the paint. So really starting to focus on their strengths in that quarter. Comets ended up with 22 points in the paint the whole game, though. Yeah. So after getting 14 of their 22 points in the paint in the second quarter, they've just then fallen away from it. And the other interesting stat is that Penrith ended up having more points in the paint the whole game than Sydney, despite their height average being 6'8". It's very interesting.
just taking a look at the shot chart, I mean, like, you think about, like, more points in the paint, but we talk about Weinstein, like, being able to drive in on people, but he only had 1 basket in the paint. Jed Hickson had 3. He could have had 8 or 9. Yeah. So it wasn't like it was all these guys using their energy to get downhill in the paint. There were guys like Krepez and Tisic doing things. I think Tisic had 2 putbacks in the space of 30 seconds late on in the game. That certainly amped up the numbers. But, yeah, it wasn't all just guys being able to drive past a bigger man. They were fighting for it and getting in the paint to bring that number back. But, I mean, back to the quarter at hand. Yeah, 14 points in the paint and 8 for the rest of the game. It's just a mind-boggling number.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. And in terms of points in the paint, you know, Martin Coney again had 4 of those points. You had Douglas getting on the inside a little bit. Fichetti, Big Johnny is getting in there. Obi Che was getting in there. Like it was a lot more consistent of the star players getting shots under the basket that they definitely needed. I think as well, the spread of scorers in the second quarter, or at least the people shooting in the second quarter, was a little bit more balanced from the Comets in this quarter compared to Penrith. Penrith in the second quarter, they had 18. So in this quarter was 18 to 25 in favor of the Comets. But Caprez only had 2 shots in the second quarter. He's someone who needs to be shooting a lot more and a lot more consistently, whereas Kieran's had 5 shots in the quarter and Schwarzer then only had 3. So I think just in terms of spread and shot selection, maybe a bit more balance needs to come by the Penrith Panthers in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, the kind of numbers Crepez has been putting up this year, two shots in the quarter isn't going to cut it. I don't think he could reach his scoring average only shooting 2 shots a quarter, even if he made them all.
Yeah, and then this quarter as well for Penrith from the 3-point line was not the best. 11%, 1 from 9 from the 3.
1 of 9, yeah.
Yeah. So probably just still tweaking some decision making, maybe just playing a little bit more rushed. Probably some more opportunities to slow down and get a little bit more organized. But yeah, Sydney just started to look comfortable, but maybe a little bit too comfortable, and that complacency started to creep in a bit, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it was out to 14. It got back to 8 by the end of the quarter. And late on, I mean, you mentioned loose, soft hands, turnover prone in the first quarter. It didn't fully go away in the second quarter. They still were prone to having it poked away. It happened once late in the quarter with Hickson again on Obi Che. It was after Obi Che got an O board, and Hickson poked it away from him and went coast to coast. And I was like, okay, so it was kind of interesting. Yeah, there's still as long as it seems to be something Penrith are good at. They're good at active hands defense without fouling. I felt they would make good decisions. Maybe it's the reflexes of youth more than anything, but they are. I certainly know that I'd be fouling out. I'd have 5 fouls in about 7 minutes if I tried that nowadays.
I would argue as well that the Comets' soft hands didn't improve all game.
No, I don't think.
Let alone the second quarter, all game. They didn't make any adjustments to Penrith's style of defense or play or trying to pickpocket them all game. They just kept letting it happen. They had 20 turnovers, but I'm sure that the Comets would argue that they weren't getting a lot of fouls called in their favor, because it started to get quite testy towards the end of the game, towards the referees and the fouls called and things like that. But Comets didn't adjust to it at all. They weren't getting on their front foot. They weren't using their pivot. They were just being complacent and holding the ball out for these guys to come and take it.
Yeah, I mean, it finished 74 field goal attempts to 67. Even the Comets had 4 more offensive rebounds than Penrith, but 9 more turnovers. In a 1-point game, 7 fewer field goal attempts. So it doesn't matter that you shot a little bit better overall from the field. You just gave them too many chances to put the ball in the basket.
Yeah, and then
I,
they still won the rebound count 55-42, the Comets, which means that, they probably should have dominated possession a little bit more, but they're just not taking the value of the ball then if you're going to turn it over 20 times.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it was, there were some improvements in the second quarter, but I still didn't see the Comets being really assertive and trying to take control of this game before it got too out of hand.
No. And like we already mentioned, but it didn't feel like we saw a lot of Ethan late in the quarter either.
I don't think so, no. I know that he started to make an impact a little bit more in the first. Let me see when he's made his shots. So he made a layup at 5 minutes 43 in the second. Another layup at 7:22. Mid-range jumper at 8. And then a missed jump shot at 6:30. So yeah, it looks like he made a layup at around the 5-minute mark in the second quarter, and then it didn't look like he didn't shoot after that, so perhaps he didn't return to the game.
Yeah, wow. I mean,
going off in the second, and
then
you're done for the night.
Yeah, man, I would have. I mean, as you said, you've got a lot of players out there commanding a lot of minutes, but he's a guy I probably would have had out there. I'd have been happy to have him out there 20, 25 minutes, to be entirely honest with you.
Yeah, especially if you're going to be that productive with 10 and 5 in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But then third quarter things started. Oh, the only thing I'll say as well about the second quarter is that I don't think the style of play offensively from either team changed a lot, but it certainly helped shape the changes that were made in the second half for each team. More so Penrith, that I think helped them get the win in the end. So Penrith really came out firing in the third quarter. Things started to click a little bit more for them, and they won the third quarter 22-17. I think for Penrith, I said before about the Comets looked the best when they were running in transition, like when they were getting fast break points. But for Penrith, for me, it's just going back to that old school ball movement, inside, outside, change sides, hit the shooters in the corners. They look much better in the second half when they dribbled less and passed more. Yeah,
100%. Kieran's facilitating, getting in the right spot, starting things off well. Just that's what I was talking about earlier with the juxtaposition between Kieran's and Weinstein. And they needed someone, and it felt like as the game went on, their teammates were able to play the different styles better as well. It wasn't like, oh, Jesse's off, Ben's on, and it takes them like 2 or 3 minutes to figure out exactly what they want to do. They were like, all right, Benny's got the ball, we're slowing it down a bit. Jesse's got the ball, come set a pick, let him go. It really felt like they were actually got things really humming well throughout this third quarter. And come back to it, Crepez and Hickson just always got the energy to match Weinstein. Those three on the court, maybe a bit more defensively even in this third quarter, but just in general, the energy that those three bring is just elite. I mean, Crepez had, did Crepez hit all of them?
Yeah, he was 3 from 3 from the three-point line in the third quarter.
Yeah, in the first 2.5 minutes of the third quarter, he hit 3 threes. And they were all off ball movement and sets or doing something to draw a defender out that got him open. It wasn't like, there was one where Akil Douglas was this far away from getting a steal, but Penrith made best use of the opportunity when he was just a couple of steps out of the play to get Crepez open for a 3. I think there was, no, that was a different play. My apologies. But yeah, 3 threes in the opening 3 minutes for one player is just, in a game like this, where they were down 8 and just brought it back that quickly, is just massive. And it was good that they were able to get Crepez open even if it wasn't inside, because he just showed that he's feeling the 3 ball as well today, which I think also just change. It gives the defense something else to think about.
Well, yeah, I agree. I think the sets that they ran in the third quarter for Penrith were a lot better organized, and they were getting their shooters the right shots. So of this 22-point quarter for Penrith, 18 of those 22 points came from the 3-point line.
Yeah.
So you had Caprez, as you said, he was 3 from 3. You had Schwarzer, he was 2 from 4. And then you had, I think that was it, actually. I think it was just those 2 in the third quarter from the 3. No, sorry, there was one more. Weinstein from the corner. He had one as well.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was just the right people taking much better shots at the right time. And I think in the first quarter for both teams, I should say, a lot of the shots that were taken were probably not the best decisions to make at all.
No.
So Penrith really came out firing. 18 of their 22 points from the 3-point line. Can't really remember if Comets made too many adjustments around stopping the likes of Caprez getting 3 threes in a quarter. They did limit him in the fourth quarter, which we'll get to. He didn't have any, but it's kind of really set the tone for the second quarter, the way that Penrith started to fire from the 3-point line.
Yeah, there was one occasion that really stood out to me. It was more when Jesse was had the ball in his hand. It was one time especially where he wanted to get into the paint and Tisic had already set up. And Tisic was kind of like trying to set a screen in the paint for Jesse to like barrel his way through. I'm like, just get out of there, mate. Just take someone with you, less bodies. Don't worry about trying to like make room for him. Just get out of there. That's the best way to make room for him. So just clearing that out a bit, I think would have been better. But the great thing about those 6 threes is they came off different actions. Whether it was Jesse, whether it was Benny, there was one where Ben, there was a nice inbound play. That was one of Schwartz's threes, was the inbound play. Schwarzer inbounded and then relocated to the corner, and Kieran's found him with Tisic screening, which I thought was really nice. That was the play right at 1 minute to go in the third quarter that got Penrith back within 1 point. It was just another way of getting someone else open, because I wanted to see more. He ended up with 13 points. He was 2 of 8 from 3. We got to remember Brody Schwartz has had a bit of a bugger of a run with injury. So I don't know. Obviously, he seems back to full fitness, playing 27 minutes, but it's all the mechanics of shooting and everything like that might take a little bit. But it's 18 of 22 points. It's just, in the same way that Comets did 14 of their 22 points in the paint in one quarter, and then went away with it. But when you do it as the game goes later on, it's probably more of a case that you've adjusted properly and done it well, that you've suddenly come out and hit 6 threes in a quarter for 18 points, especially when your other 3 quarters are 14%, 11%, and 25%. And then you're shooting, 6 of 10 from 3-point range in one quarter. And it started with one guy and then went to others. So they were able to find other people once Crepez, either was stopped or wasn't hitting.
Yeah, and then equally for the Comets in the third quarter, they had 3 threes of their own, which probably came at good times as well. And they had a couple of buckets underneath. They only had a 17-point quarter, though, for this one. So Penrith's doing a good job of limiting the Comets to 13 points. I think that sometimes some of these shots, they were much better shots taken for Comets in this third quarter, especially these threes. They were all wide open, great shots to take. I think the likes of Gock could have benefited from a few more looks inside, maybe running some of that, going back to what we saw in the first half of some more high-low action between all of these great 4s and 5s and bigs that they've got to play with on this Comets roster. I think I didn't see again a real conscious effort from Comets to take control of this game. They were just letting the game happen. And as the game went on, you mentioned before about how you wanted Weinstein to kind of clear out and make some space. As the game went on, Penrith did that a lot better, and they were able to exploit some holes in that second line of Comets' defensive rotation, whereas the Comets went and did the exact opposite. They were just in everyone's way all the time, and it got worse and worse as the game went on. There was times where there were 3 of them in the key, and there were times where something would be happening on the strong side and there's no action on the weak side and everyone's standing around, and then someone would go in the key and then others would go in the key, and then everyone was just in the wrong. There was no floor spots whatsoever.
No.
There was no rules or floor spots or anything. It was so disorganized. I don't know how they managed to stand to be in each other's space that close. Yeah. They're all big bodies too. It's not like, it's bad enough when it's under 10s and they're learning and they're all bunching like grapes. But to have like these giant men plus defense in such small space, I was like, what are you running? What was the plan here, guys? But yeah, it was just, I just kind of got a sense that they just thought that they were just going to win.
Yeah. And
there's no real leadership.
No, it doesn't work. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. And I've mentioned him so many times, but can we just talk about Jet Hickson's defense on Obi Che? Obi, and we'll probably talk about it in the fourth, but I've got to make the point now. There was one time where Obi got a couple of steps run up, took on Hickson, bumped him, and made something happen. And so many other times, he would just go at Hickson from a standing start, and Hickson was able to stay in front. And like the kid's young against a guy who's played in the NBL, and he was more than hanging with Obi Che for a lot of the time. Obi won his rounds of the battle, 100%. Check the stats. But Obi only finished with 8 points, 2 of 8 from the field, and 1 of 6 from 2-point range. I think Jet Hickson, his defense, just staying in front of Obi there for a few occasions was really, really good. And I think if Obi had probably got the opportunity or to just back up, take him on a couple of steps, I think it was more fortunate that he got the opportunity with a bit of separation when it happened. But take him on with a bit of a running start, because I think he might have actually had a much better time of it against Hickson than just trying to take him on from close range and almost trying to just bump him from a standing start. Shout out to young Jet. Really becoming a fan of his.
Now, I can't remember if it was Hickson or if it was Weinstein that was giving Barber Bay a hard time.
Second half. I think that would have been Jesse. Actually, I think I wrote down one. Oh no, I wrote down Schwarzer gave Barber Bay a hard time on one possession. He was definitely
giving Barber Bay a hard time too.
On one possession in particular where Ty was able to spin out of it and actually create a 3 for someone, but it was a hell of a time to get there before he was, as I was mentioning earlier, the active hands defense from Penrith, and it was really good by Brody to not commit the foul, but just better by Barber Bay to get out of it and make something happen.
Yeah, Barber Bay's really hard to guard at the best of times, but when he puts on the jets and he's able to cut off the shoulders of his defenders, he gets low, he gets close to his defenders. He's really, really hard to guard, Barber Bay. I feel like he probably could have done this a little bit more throughout the whole game, because even though Weinstein and Schwarzer and alike were doing a really good job on him to make it more difficult, I think Barber Bay sometimes was looking for those fouls that weren't going to get caught. He just needed to shake him off and just blow by him.
Yeah,
because if he was able to get low and skinny and get past him, he was either going to get a great scoring opportunity, potentially create an assist, or he's going to get fouled. I think Comets really needed someone like Barber Bay just to take control of this game for them. Wasn't a lot of leadership. There wasn't a lot of camaraderie or or kind of team bonding going on when the I was going to swear then when when it started to get really challenging and they needed to close out this game. No one was pulling the team together and getting them focused, getting them organized. I think they were just, I don't know if they were just falling away or being complacent again of just like, oh, we'll be right. Or just do this, or just stand here, or just like it. And it's not gonna. It doesn't happen like that.
And when you feel like, far be it from me to say what they were thinking or feeling, but when a game that you should win and you know you should win it starts to get close, you start to get a little bit, you're like, why is it? You start going from, oh, this is going to work, this is going to work, to why is this not working? Why are we not able to beat this team that we beat by 42 weeks ago? What has happened here? We beat them by 40 and they don't have Jonah Perez this week. What are we doing? Where is the win coming from? And you start thinking like, it's almost like going through the 5 stages of grief at some point.
Yeah, when Tame Impala said "Let it happen," they didn't mean like this. That's not the moral of that song at all. But the fourth quarter, Penrith won 17-13. This was really in the fourth quarter when I think their ball movement was at their best for Penrith. They started to exploit some of the rotations in the second line of defense, like I mentioned before. I think they shot a lot of threes again. They shot 8 threes. There were 2 from 8 from the 3-point line, making some buckets though, just based on pure hustle and tenacity, but able to limit the Comets to 13 points as well. But the Comets had plenty of scoring opportunities. I think they actually took more shots in the fourth quarter than Penrith did, but they just didn't capitalize.
No. I mean, at times, Comets looked like a team that was playing not to lose rather than a team that was trying to win. It was they got out in transition. Gosh Mullawal got into the paint. There were 2 men behind him, between him and the basket. But with honestly, and he pulled up and threw it back out, and they sort of got something. I think he got it back and then took on the defense, but the shot was even harder. Or I think if he just turned and gone and stepped past his first man, he probably could have laid it over the second man, to be entirely honest with you. But and it's just like it was like just a little bit of hesitation, and then almost like getting out of there, getting into something. It didn't work immediately, getting out of something. But I mean, they were saved a couple of times by offensive rebounds. I've got more than a couple of notes about OBJ getting stopped by Jed Hickson once again. But and I mean, there was one time actually where he got stopped and kicked it to Douglas. And like you said, they had some good looks, but the shot just didn't go. So that time he was actually, Obi was able to make something of it, and the shot just didn't go. But yeah,
I wonder if they were just really tired, because Akil Douglas had a great game the day before against his former side in Hornsby, and he had some really good looks throughout this whole game. I think he shot the most amount of shots for the Comets side against Penrith. He was 4 from 18, so not his best day at the office. 15 and 8 he ended up with. But yeah, I wonder, like, that just doesn't seem like him. He just didn't seem to have his spark that he normally has. That was one thing I really liked about Akil Douglas last season when he entered the East. He just had so much spark and so much raw kind of energy, and that was a bit missing today. So I don't know if it's fatigue, maybe something else was going on, we don't know, but he was just missing that spark that he normally has.
I do want to point out one particular play, because I thought it was beautiful. It was just after, so 5:46 was the 3-point play. Benny Kieran's and Simon Crepes running a pick and roll, and both defenders jump to Benny, and he throws this bounce pass, and it comes, and Crepes knows the bounce pass is coming, and it sits right, it bounces right to waist height, and Simon's like, thank you. And Tisic is there wide open in the corner, and Simon's just, here you go, mate. Make the best of it. And admittedly, Tisic, 25% 3-point shooter, probably the right decision for Comets to let the man shoot. But they needed the basket, and the boy from St. George came up big time, knocked it down. I thought that was one of the absolute plays of the afternoon.
All set up by a bounce pass that only someone like Benny Kieran's could throw.
Yeah. It was
Probably
it split the defenders perfectly.
The other highlight for me in the fourth quarter was probably Barber Bay's 3-pointer in the stretch. I think he had a 3-pointer with about let me find it here. Yes.
Just inside 2 minutes?
Yeah, just inside 2 minutes. That was a great 3-pointer. He was starting to get really G'd up. He made a bit of a flex. And then Weinstein just looked at him like, I don't care.
Yeah.
He had no reaction. No reaction. Barber Bay was like, did a flex, and Weinstein just looked at him deadpan as if to say, I don't care.
Because if I remember correctly, that was really good ball movement. And they got the O board and ran another set out of the O board for Barber Bay to get that through, which I thought it was like, where's this been all day? Now you're running like proper sets with like 10 on the shot clock. Okay. Cook my guys.
What happens when it works and we get a little bit better organized? Yeah. I think what was interesting too, the Comets were in the lead for 80% of this game until the fourth quarter. They only led for 3 minutes, and they really left it really a little bit too late to try and secure the win on this one. Yeah. And Penrith are doing absolutely everything they could to win. They just, like Garen said on the call, they just wanted it more.
Yeah. When I saw that they went up, when Penrith went up 67-58 with 3.5 minutes to play, I was like, you're telling me Penrith scored one more point in this entire game? I couldn't believe that.
From a free throw as well.
Yeah. And interestingly, something, and I mean, you mentioned it last week that in overtime, suddenly one team completely changed their defense. In this game, with 2 minutes to play, Comets suddenly start trapping Benny Kieran's in the corner as soon as he gets across half court. You didn't want to try that in the 37 minutes prior, even once?
Oh, especially because they put Gok at the top of the press.
Yeah.
Which was a really great move because he is long and intimidating, and he is mobile enough for a 7-footer to be at the top of a press. So, why didn't you flex even when you were 14 up? That's a safe time to do something like that as well, because if it doesn't work, you've got 14 points. You're 14 points up. That's a good buffer. If it does work, that 14-point lead can turn into a 24-point lead.
Exactly. And then to be honest, in my first half notes, it says if Comets had come out in the first quarter like they came out, like they played in parts of the second, it wouldn't have even been a game at halftime. We wouldn't even be talking about this contest.
No.
But instead, we're talking about 39 minutes and 58 seconds of this game.
Yeah, correct, because we didn't get to see the final play. I would have loved to have seen what Coach Will Hill had drawn up for that. What was it, 1.6 seconds left in the fourth. They had a timeout and advanced, literally a catch and shoot. But I want to see what they drew up. I want to see what they had up their sleeve. I want to see who was taking the shot.
Yeah. Oh, it's not on the play-by-play, so maybe they didn't get a shot up.
That would make sense. That would make sense then. Yeah, all it says on the play-by-play was that there was a timeout called. But actually, oh, no, they mustn't have gotten a shot up. It just says timeout called, and then that's it. So, yeah, even if it was a missed shot, it would have been recorded.
Yeah.
But, so that is the story of how Penrith got a 1-point win at home.
But is it? Because still a little bit of stuff went down in the final 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Jet Hickson ripping the ball away from Gotch Mullawal when Gotch was free up court. That would have been a different result. That was that late in the game. Gotch leaked out in transition, and Jet Hickson flew across the middle to rip the ball out of his hand to force Comets to have to foul. And then Crepez committing a tech?
Was it Crepez? I thought it was Barber Bay that committed the tech.
No, Barber Bay shot the free throws on the tech.
Oh, it was Crepes with the tech. Oh, that is
that tied the game at 67 all, and then Weinstein went and shot his 1 of 2 to put Penrith back up 1.
Yeah,
and he missed the first. Yeah,
so that's right. That was all of the events leading up to the 1.6 seconds left of the shot that we didn't get to see. It was Caprez's technical foul. He got subbed out, and Angus Oll is subbed in. Yeah, Barber Bay makes his 1 free throw from the tech. Weinstein goes for 2 after he was he drew a foul from Akil Douglas and makes the 1. Oh, gosh.
Like, what? Man, Simon, mate, just keep that one in the head for next time and don't make the same mistake. Just like no reason to get chippy with anyone in that situation.
Yeah,
just let your teammate get the free throws and walk away with it.
And be done with it.
But they did walk away with it. Yeah.
And so Caprez, though, ended the game with 21 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting at 41.81% overall, including 4 from 7 from the 3-point line. Then we had Schwarzer with 13 and 2, and he shot at 45.45% overall. And then Jack Tissick with 12 points and 9 rebounds for Penrith. So they had 3 players in double figures. Jet Hickson, the only to get double figures in the rebound column. 42 rebounds in total for Penrith, and only 11 assists. But they had 13 steals off those 20 turnovers from Comets. And Comets also only had 3 players in double figures. They were led by Akil Douglas, who didn't have his best shooting day, but still ended up with 15 and 8. Then Barber Bay had 11 and 4. He only had 10 shots. The guy's got to give him more shots. 2 from 4 from the 3-point line and 4 from 10 overall from the field, which, look, 40%, not great, but he's a guy that I would like to be. We know that he can go off. He's a guy I think needs some more shots. And then, of course, our guy, Ethan Martin-Coney, 10 and 5 in 10 minutes 42, 5 from 6 from the field. With Comets, 55 rebounds overall, 17 assists, which isn't too bad, but 20 turnovers and 8 steals. And the free throw count, I think I know that there was a lot of talk about, between the players in this game about the referees calling what they should and shouldn't be calling, people getting a bit annoyed. Penrith had 17 trips to the free throw line to Sydney's 19, so I think that was fairly even. This game was certainly at risk of going for 2.5 hours had the referees called everything. So I think the referees did a pretty balanced job of keeping enough contact and physicality and calling what needed to be called.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking the other week that we don't want games with players that can handle physicality to get called, really tight. Calling or not calling things didn't have an effect on the watchability of this game, or, I didn't think it was too physical. I thought everyone could handle themselves out there. Nothing really egregious happened, I don't think.
I feel like I don't think it feel like it could be more physical. I just felt like there were opportunities for defense to be more consistent, and I think a lot of players could have committed to playing defense. It's like square up defense. Like, I think there was a lot of defense that was kind of half-hearted from both teams in a lot of the game, and there wasn't a lot of boxing out. So things, when people were contesting offensive rebounds and putbacks, there was lots of bodies in the air, like an AFL game again. So I think that certainly goes a long way in terms of dominating possession and securing rebounds and giving your team a much better opportunity to try and get some more fast break points. But free throws, Penrith, 10 from 17. And Comets, 6 13 from 19. Easy 6-7 points, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
You know who you are, guys. You all know your stats.
Yeah. But maybe it's the Sunday afternoon game again. Who knows? Yeah, so at least we know now that how it became a 1-point game and how Penrith got the win. I will say, though, online it says that only 67 people attended this game in Minto. But if you watch the game and you hear the crowd, that sounded like a lot more than 67 people.
Certainly did, although Minto's got an echo about it.
I haven't been to Minto for a very long time.
I was last there for CPL finals. I'm trying to remember. I think Alex Tui was in 14s or 16s at the time. Was the last time I was at Minto.
Oh gosh, that's a while ago.
I was looking. I've still got the program. Would you even believe it?
100% would believe that.
I was looking through it a while ago. Yes, yeah, that was the last time I was at Minto.
But yeah, that was Penrith's first win as well. So props to the boys getting their first win. Like we said, even without Jonah Pares, which is which is awesome for them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to see who they've got next round, but it's not coming up on the ladder.
Penrith have Hornsby Ku-ring-gai at home next, followed by Illawarra, COE, Central Coast, and Sutherland. Central Coast is the only away game of those 5.
Okay, so yeah, definitely another gettable game for them next week against Hornsby. And the Comets are so Penrith are now 13th on the ladder with a win-loss record of 1-5. Comets are 8th on the ladder with a win-loss record of 4-4, and they play the Hills Hornets next round, who are currently 9th on 3-3.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, I mean, those teams are right next to each other on the ladder right now, but Comets, more importantly, is their long-term future because they've still got to play Maitland twice, North again, Illawarra, COE, Canberra. 6 of the teams they play the rest of the season are above them on the ladder right now, and that doesn't include Maitland because Maitland are currently 1 game behind them.
Oi, that is a tough road ahead. That is a really tough road ahead. So dropping this game against Penrith may very well just come and bite them on the bum. So
they're going to, you think Hills, Albury-Wodonga, Hornsby Ku-ring-gai, those are absolute non-negotiables at this stage. Because, when you've got Manly, COE, North, Inner West, Illawarra, Canberra, Sutherland, and Maitland twice, you're going to have to win some games that people aren't expecting you to win. That's right. It's time to pull something out of the bag. I did hear some rumours, though, at the start of the year that Rain Smith is going to miss some games because of some potential Boomers opportunities. So, which I'm not too sure when that's going to be, but that may work in some teams' favours. Yes. It's what happens when you have such elite players playing in a semi-professional competition. I know. I mean, it sucks when they're gone, but it's so good to have them in the league. That's right. Even for us up here at Brisbane Caps, we had Mila Soa was signed for the Caps, but because she was doing so well with her 3x, she got called up for 3x3 Kangaroos, called up for Opals, and called up for something else. I think she unfortunately was only suited up for the Caps, I think, 3 times last season. Oh, jeez. Yeah. And when she was there, she was hitting like 40 points a game, but then she was like, oh, my country needs me. Goodbye. I have to go now. My planet needs me. All right. So that is a wrap on that game. Unfortunately, we don't have an athlete interview this week, despite our best efforts, but hopefully we'll have one booked next week. If you're an athlete listening to this and you'd like to be a guest on eScott Game, please send us a message on our Instagram DMs. We'd love to have you. Or if you know a teammate that we've been trying to contact, can you give them a nudge to read their DMs and write back to us, please?
That would be great also. But otherwise, Lockie, any kind of final thoughts or anything to look forward to for round 6?
Anything to look for? I'm sure there'll be plenty to look forward to for round 6, not least Sutherland versus Canberra at the Shark Tank, where you'll be able to hear my dulcet tones, if you can call them that. Obviously, we mentioned earlier the big games, North, Newcastle, Bankstown, Manly on the women's side. Those will be absolutely mammoth. Albury-Wodonga, Maitland, a sneaky one on the women's side, because I think Albury-Wodonga will want to get this show on the road properly, and putting a gap between themselves and teams like Maitland is a very good start to doing that. And then on Sunday, the Georges River Rumble, Bankstown, Sutherland. Sutherland 1 and 4 at this stage. Remember, they got to play Canberra and Bankstown, so a lot to go on there. But I mean, it's and one other I will point out: Inner West Illawarra in the men. It'd be a good way to get a read on how good Inner West are. I don't think we talked. Okay. I don't think anyone's really talked much about them. They are sitting there in I think 6th or 7th at this stage. Yeah, 7th at 4 and 3. So if they can give at least give Illawarra a nudge, be interesting to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I would totally agree. It'd be interesting, Bankstown. I think Bankstown, Bruins, and Manly Warringah in the women, of course, but in the men as well. The men are rolling.
Yeah,
Bankstown I think coming off that loss at home against Maitland. Manly men are just really exciting this season, and they're rolling. I think that's going to be a really good game to keep an eye on, especially like to see it, because they're both in the mix of the top 6. So I think that will shake up the order a little bit. I'm not too sure if they play each other again, though, later in the season for the losing side to get an opportunity for the split later.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you had to be in one place for both men and women, it would definitely be combined men and women, Bankstown, Manly. That's the place to be. Just have to check. Yes, they do play each other.
Yeah, they play each other again in round 12 at Manly. So redemption. There is an opportunity for redemption, but if you're using this Penrith Comets game as an example, every win counts.
It certainly does.
All right. I think that's more or less the show for this week, Lockie. Unless you've got any other tips or tricks up your sleeve before we... Oh, remember, we should tell the good people, remember to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and we've got a YouTube channel still up and running that our live streams go to. We've got 2 people watching on YouTube at the moment as well, so we'll give them a wave. But otherwise, Lockie, in the meantime, what do the good folks out there need to do?
Just don't sleep on the 8th.